What was it like for you coming into this understanding that you are white, not just Latina, but when we talk about racializing it, you're white. What's that like?
It hurt.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Not that you're white, but sorry that it hurt.
No.
Hey, teacher friends and friends of teachers. As a Black person, I talk about race all the time. When I talk about race in teaching, however, most of these conversations happen with my friend, primary educator Alexis Valentin. In this conversation, we talked about white teachers doing racial equity work and how to sustain yourself for the long haul. So I think it's important for us to jump into some things that white people might be wondering while they're doing this work. One, why is this racial equity work important to you?
For me, as a white Latina, a lot of this work has to do with my identity. Mm-hmm. I'm a white Latina. I am both, and it's important to say that I'm both, because if I was just white, I would be excluding that I'm also Latina. And there's some things around moving closer to whiteness, that whiteness wants that of me. And so naming that I'm a Latina helps people understand, first, that I have the privilege to do that, but it helps people understand that that's also part of my history and my family's history. So some background about me. My mom is Mexican. Her family is from Mexico. And they originally were, my mom's family originally had a Mayan heritage, so we're indigenous people from Mexico. And then on some other parts that I think are important in my history and understanding why I do this work is that my mom grew up in Detroit, and originally she was in downtown Detroit. And then when the race riots happened in the 60s, they moved to a suburban area, a white suburban Polish area. Mm-hmm. Knowing that a part of my history is being both the colonizer and the colonized helps me to do this work and to honor the people who do this work with me, both my ancestors and my family, but also the people who are also have been colonized while doing this work. It's something that helps me to know that moving forward is helping all of us.
That's a level of duality that's kind of crazy, but I think it happens within even Black people. You're taught to sort of hate the part of you that's rejected as a Black person having the experience. And so sometimes we'll find ourselves trying to separate ourselves from those Black people or to show that you're different. But all of it is just, it's touched by race. And that's the important thing, that we're actually talking about race and what that means for your experience. So what was it like for you coming into this understanding that you are white, not just Latina, but when we talk about racializing it, you're white. What's that like?
It hurt.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. Not that you're white, but sorry that it hurt.
No. Realizing that I was white hurt at first. I'm used to feeling articulate. I'm used to being well-spoken about my education or being a teacher at school. I know a lot about reading, research, but it was one of the first times in my life where I had nothing to say. Learning isn't enough, and it wasn't enough. So I began to learn about my history, about the history of the United States that I wasn't taught at school. And I know that I had the privilege of, my mom's also an educator, so she did teach me more than I would have learned at school. But learning is not enough. So knowing that my identity combined with my learning and then is going to push me forward to continue to do this work, and also to start to take action in this work. At school we have a community of practice. We have had a community of practice for a few years now, and it has looked different, a couple different years, but we have centered our conversations around racial equity in schools, racial equity transformation in schools, and it's a combination of multiple perspectives of white colleagues, of Black colleagues.
I did want to mention something,
yes.
though. I realized that, and I think it's important to say, you went through a period of time where you were processing this idea that, oh snap, I'm white. I'm not just Latina, but I'm white. And it was kind of hurtful. But at some point you had to reconcile that, but it took time. So I think for a lot of people who are seeing videos of police brutality and starting to prioritize Black lives, in the beginning there are going to be some conversations, and you might hear some things about white culture, whiteness, that are hurtful, and you got to kind of sit in that for a while. It's going to hurt, but you come out on the other side and you live. How do you continue to do this work? What kind of tools and strategies do you have at your disposal?
Knowing that this work took time, my processing being white and coming into that identity, understanding how that impacts my life, my personal life, my professional life, the most important part of that is knowing that it's never going to be over. That this is always going to be a continuous cycle of inquiry. When something comes out in the news, when something happens in my house, or my daughter comes home from school and tells a story, that this is always going to be my internal dialogue. Was this because of whiteness? Was this something that might have happened anyway? Of course, race colors everything that we do in the United States. So knowing that this work is never going to be over and that I'm in this for the long haul is something that's important to say.
What you're saying about this work being continual, always inquiring as news stories come out, as your daughter comes home, this is what Black people go through. It doesn't end for us. You go to the store and you're like, did that person talk to me like that because I'm Black? You know, what was it? What did I do? Or, you know, that continues. And so in that way, white people or any person who's doing the work of amplifying the Black struggle or reminding people that our lives matter, you have that in common with Black people now. Like, welcome to the club. What do you want to tell white people who are just beginning to enter this work?
What I want to tell white people who are just beginning to enter this work is that learning is not enough, that it's crucial to amplify Black voices, Black, brown, and Indigenous voices around them, to search for their own history and identity, to understand how history has impacted their lives and given them what they have currently. If you're a teacher, the work does not start right now. If you're a teacher, you do not get to go back to your classroom in August and start teaching children about civil rights.
So glad you said that. Keep going. You're on a roll.
Okay. Yeah. If you're a white teacher, right now, the work this summer is internal. Before I first started this work, I was a white educator in that I told children that skin color wasn't important. Since starting this work and continuing on this journey, the narrative in our classroom is now, your skin color makes you special and important. We repeat that all the time, every month, throughout the year.
Not just February. Teacher friend, teaching in a racially equitable way is not a trend. It is your duty. It always has been. Right now is a great time to grow in racial consciousness because you have the power to uplift or traumatize your students. Now, it's a lot easier to do this work when you have a partner or someone that you can talk to about this. In the comment section, I would love to hear your perspective on our conversation. And please throw in some resources that you've been using in order to grow and educate yourself around this topic. Don't forget to subscribe, like our video, like the channel, the page, all the things, and stay up to date with the conversations that we're going to continue to have about racial equity in education.